No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken Live episode number 78. We're back in the studio today. Apologies for the difficulties yesterday. But actually, a lot of you enjoyed a little intimate chat from my office, so I will do some more of them for you in the future, I promise. And I appreciate your loyalty and patience. So on that note, please click to subscribe to our brand new independent news source. Turn on the notification bell, then you'll be alerted to all of the great stuff that we do here on Outspoken. Now, the story of the death of the Brexiteer grandfather Peter Lynch in a British prison where he was serving 2 years and 8 months as a political prisoner of Two Tier Keir Starmer has horrified the nation, but been largely ignored by the captured MSM. Today, an unseen interview of Peter reveals the real man, including his famous sign exposing corruption.
Why are you here today?
Because we did a vote in 2016, the democratic vote, it's not being upheld. Parliament's took it onto themselves. The corrupt MPs have took it onto themselves to deny our vote what we put them in power for. But now they're in power, they're stuck there defying what we've put them in here for. And
he died in jail. In my digest, I link the coverage of Peter and compare it to that of the notorious London gangland shooter Chris Kaba. Also coming up today, an exclusive interview with the multi-millionaire British businessman Charlie Mullins on the left's disdain as he quit the UK. And Tina Brown gives the most scathing verdict yet on Meghan Markle as Hollywood continues to turn on the duplicitous Duchess. I'll reveal what she said, and then Angela Levin weighs in live. Then in the uncancelled after show, much more from Angela on King Charles's eventful, but I would argue very successful Aussie tour despite this.
Decide against our people. Give us our land back. Give us what you stole from us. Our bones, our skulls, our
Total weirdo. You can register to watch right now on our own website, www.outspoken.live. It is a safe space, free of censorship. Your support, just £5 a month, gives you that 30 minutes of extra content every single weekday, but allows me to continue making this daily news show. But now, let's go. The MSM, even in death, are trying to smear Peter Lynch, the 61-year-old grandfather and family man who died in jail after taking his own life as a political prisoner of Two Tier Keir Starmer's dystopic Labour regime. Peter was locked up for 2 years and 8 months for attending an anti-immigration protest in the wake of the Southport massacre that turned into what authorities describe as a riot. The police body cam footage from that day actually shows Peter praying, calling officers scum after they push him to the ground, and yelling, "You are protecting people who are killing our kids and raping them." He had also taken his iconic sign, accusing the elites of corruption. He was not violent. He did not incite any violence. Indeed, the judge in his case, the Recorder of Sheffield, Jeremy Richardson KC, made clear his sign and protest was not unlawful, but apparently it was his verbal abuse of the officers that crossed a line. Now look, emotions were running high that day, sure, but I struggle to see how in anyone's world expressing your free speech in that manner, as spiky as it may have been, sees you locked up for years, while paedophiles, violent criminals and women beaters receive no jail time whatsoever. The MSM, in their typical fashion, have tried to deride Peter Lynch as a rioter and a conspiracy theorist, when in fact I believe he was one of us, an ordinary Englishman concerned about the impact of mass immigration. Peter had been married for 36 years, had 4 children and 3 grandchildren. He worked in the packing industry, but had been made redundant in the month beforehand. He suffered from angina, diabetes, thyroid issues, and had recently suffered a heart attack. No doubt he was deeply concerned about his future. But Peter Lynch also had a history of standing up for the people against the establishment, as this previously unseen interview from during the Brexit battles makes clear.
That's why you're here today.
Because we did a vote in 2016, the democratic vote, it's not being upheld. Parliament's took it onto themselves. The corrupt MPs have took it onto themselves to deny our vote what we put them in power for. But now they're in power, they're stuck there defying what we've put them in here for. And all these corrupt MPs now are saying they're getting picked on and abused, but why not? They actually went in there to do a job and they've gone and turned against will of people, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how do we go by our rights and bring our children up if the corrupt system all the way through, police, judicial services, everything, it's all involved. Parliament, MPs, everything, they're all corrupt. We get Prime Ministers corrupt. So how can we tell our children to bring them up straight and narrow when everybody above them was corrupt, but yet they're expecting the people to do as they're told by people that's not doing as they're told what we're put in here for. So I just can't see around it unless they come out to Brexit.
That man was one of us. He shouldn't have taken his own life in prison after being taken away from his 3 grandchildren for 2 years and 8 months. That was a barbaric sentence. A barbaric sentence designed to shut you up. And as a result, I believe the authorities responsible now have blood on their hands. Sly News had made it abundantly clear what sort of hell prisoners like Peter were about to face.
That if they do appear, whether they're pleading guilty or not guilty, they're very unlikely to get bail. And if they do end up in prison, somebody who knows about these things told me that, any right-wing, far-right protester landing up in jail, they can expect a pretty cold reception from what he says are Asian gangs inside prison who will be looking out for them.
Isabella Oakeshott summed up the Peter Lynch case perfectly yesterday.
Peter Lynch was jailed for nearly 3 years at a time when this government is releasing literally thousands of hardened criminals with long criminal records, people whose behaviour has had actual immediate victims. How does that make sense? Make no mistake, folks, Peter Lynch was a political prisoner, and his death by his own hands is on this government.
Amen. After ignoring Peter's story for much of yesterday, Sky News' Kay Burley asked the Labour Justice Secretary Subhana Mahmood this morning about his sentencing. She hid behind weasel words.
You talk about locking up the most serious criminals. That includes a 61-year-old man, Peter Lynch, with angina, who's previously suffered a heart attack and diabetes. He died in prison this week. He didn't have any previous convictions. He behaved appallingly during the summer riots, but he had no previous convictions. He was a poorly man. He's now died in prison. Is he the sort of person that is a serious enough criminal to be in jail?
Well, look, I don't take any death in custody lightly, and that will now be investigated, as every death in custody is, by the Prisons and Probation Ombudsman. Well, I think that actually I have to wait until that investigation is completed before I comment on the specifics of this case.
I'm asking you whether or not he was a serious enough criminal to find himself in jail.
Well, those are independent decisions to charge made by the Crown Prosecution Service.
But you talk about locking up the most serious criminals. It's your phraseology.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I won't comment on the specifics of that case because sentencing decisions are a matter for the independent judiciary. What we are announcing is a sentencing review in order to make sure that we can deal not just with the capacity crisis that we have in our prisons, and to make sure that no emergency releases take place ever again, but also that we do better on rehabilitation, which is a huge problem in this country. 90% of people who are sentenced to a prison sentence are in fact reoffenders. It shows you the scale of the issues that we have and some of the things that we have to tackle if we're going to turn things around.
Yes, exactly. So why the hell was Peter Lynch in prison? That's the point. Burley should have pressed the hapless minister on how she can possibly justify sending home over 1,000 violent criminals today, mostly violent anyway, to make way for someone like Peter Lynch. But of course, the MSM and establishment reaction to Peter's death is one of, oh, he deserves it. And let's just be honest about that. And I'm thinking today what a stark contrast it is to the ludicrous coverage of the Chris Kaba case in London, where the Metropolitan Police Officer Martin Blake, by all accounts a very good officer, faced a murder trial for doing his job and shooting dead a violent criminal who was linked to various shootings and failed to comply with officers at a checkpoint. But bad actors like Sadiq Khan tried to spark some sort of British George Floyd case with platitudes like this. He wrote on X, "My thoughts are with Chris Kaba's loved one today. His death has had a huge impact on Londoners and in particular black Londoners. Anger, pain and fear has been felt across communities, along with a desire for change and justice." Now, Kaba was a hardened gangland thug who had fired a gun at a nightclub, at a rival, on the dance floor, and then going down the street just days before his death. And once again, this is becoming quite a habit. It's only Reform UK brave enough to tackle this issue. Deputy Leader Richard Tice wrote on this, well, CPS have serious questions to answer. Frankly, they are rapidly losing confidence of public. Too often they seem to be on side of violent thugs, not police officers. And Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, added, the truth about Chris Kaba is out. We need to support our police more. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, and thank God for Elon Musk, given he is on a single-handed mission to save free speech across the world, putting himself in the crosshairs of the establishment, which is quite literally advocating for his removal from polite society. He won't even visit the UK now because he is so scared of being locked up by Starmer. I'm not joking.
There's some weird things going on in Europe. There's a lot of, I mean, although we've got quite a lot of bureaucracy here, but in Europe they've got country-level bureaucracy, and then they've got EU bureaucracy on top of that. I mean, the EU headquarters in Brussels is a monument to bureaucracy. It's really next level. And they don't. They unlike America, they don't have a First Amendment. You don't actually have freedom of speech in Europe. But we're kind of like a pretty rare situation having freedom of speech. So, like there's crazy stuff happening in the UK where people are getting like 2-3 year prison sentences for Facebook posts. Yeah, like I'm like, I don't think I should go to, visit Britain, because I'm like, they're gonna like drag out some tweet and say 2 years in prison for this tweet or something bullshit like that, So anyway, I think that's, with Trump elected, we can put a stop to that stuff and say like, no way, no, nope. No throwing people in prison for random social media posts. That's crazy. Yeah, it's happened a lot. No, I mean, it's so crazy in Britain that they actually have released convicted pedophiles in order to imprison people for making social media posts. That is a real thing that happened. Insane. Yeah.
It is a real thing happening, and we are living through it. So there you have humanity's greatest businessman and entrepreneur not stepping foot in the UK in genuine fear of ending up in prison for his words. And that's just accepted. We need our own version of the First Amendment now, or this once great country is finished. As the Reform UK chairman Zia Youssef put it, the world's most successful and influential entrepreneur won't visit the UK for fear of being imprisoned for his political views. Starmer's UK is on a glide path to being the Soviet Union. Reform is the only hope for those who believe in British values. And I actually do agree with him. There are so many problems. I mean, our guest today, Charlie Mullins, one of our most successful businessmen, he has left the country too. So what do we need to do? I think we need to pressure every politician who claims to believe in free speech now. Why do you stay silent as our rights are chipped away by the day? Do you know where this ends? Some people will say Peter Lynch was unwise to attend the protest. I'm pretty sure he regretted it with every bone in his body. I'm absolutely convinced his family are devastated by that decision. But did that grandfather deserve to die in prison to send a message to all of us to toe the line? No, of course not. Only a dictator would encourage that type of law and order. But now it's time for Charlie Mullins in the Uncancelled interview. Charlie Mullins, do you look at all of this ridiculous stuff going on in the UK and just think, thank God I got out?
Undoubtedly. First of all, I want to offer my condolences to Liam Gallagher and his family and friends. I mean, what a thing that has happened is, it's just, you can't even, it's just disgusting. And, we have to be honest, this is Starmer's fault. He's the ones that's called on these prison sentences. And all the guy was doing was saying what he thinks. I mean, it's just unbelievable to think we're having this conversation about it. And, hopefully this never happens again, but I can't see it. Unfortunately, Starmer and the Labour government do not have a clue on how to treat people and who's wrong and who's right. It's just an unbelievable thing that's happened. I mean, this guy, all he needed to do was maybe even moved on, not going to prison, not like, and this has happened. And it's just, well, you've said all the words you said. It's not right. It's unfair. And, I don't want to get racist into this, but if this guy would come from another country, there'd be protests and everything all over the UK. It's so wrong. And Starmer needs to be ashamed of himself. And he needs to step down, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
He needs to step down. I said a 2-bob thing on Twitter or X at the time, just a nothing thing, a throwaway comment, and they barred me from it and made a big thing about it. And this guy here is just being outspoken. He's done nothing wrong. He's just saying what millions of us know and think, yes, the Labour government is corrupt. Of course it is. I mean,
exactly.
Well, that's it. I mean,
look how much evidence there's been of that in literally a matter of weeks.
Oh, what? Sorry.
Well, look how much evidence there's been of their corruption in a matter of weeks. Lord Ali, for example.
Exactly. I mean, God knows what it's going to be like in 12 months' time with this lot in power. I've never known anything like it. And I say, I'll be as outspoken as I want, and they can do what they want and say what they want about me. But at the end of the day, they're wrong. They've got blood on their hands. Somebody has died because of their stupid decisions and their incapability of running the country.
And I obviously want to come much more in terms of your personal decision to leave shortly. But first, can I just ask you, Charlie, about Elon Musk? Because you're one of our most successful businessmen. He's one of the most successful businessmen in the world. And he says he will not even step foot in the UK because he's so concerned that Starmer would end up arresting him. That's shocking, isn't it? Even if that wouldn't happen, the fact he even feels that is so shocking and so bad for the UK, because surely we need business from Elon Musk badly.
I mean, it's again, you know, Starmer and Labour government driving away entrepreneurs, business people, wealth creators, job creators, people that train people. They despise anybody that does well and anybody that's wealthy. And for him to make that decision, Elon Musk, not to come here, it's a massive blow for the UK. He wasn't invited to this business summit that they held in London. And he actually said, you know, I wouldn't go there anyhow because of all the paedophiles they've let out on the streets, and the government are being childish. It's like school playground stuff. I mean, they obviously don't understand business at all, and you would welcome that man here. And if he was here and invested and got things moving for us, but that's the message they're sending out, the government, that they do not like wealthy people or job creators or entrepreneurs, business people. All they're interested in is giving people money that don't work and can work. Interested in giving people money that should not be in the country. We all think it. Unfortunately, you know, we're being restricted what to say. But we all know the truth. We all know why we're in a mess, because he's wasting the money. He's giving it to people that don't contribute anything to the UK. And it's clear cut as that. And, you know, I told the guy to his face, and it doesn't bother me at all. But he needs to start listening, because unfortunately, I hate to say it, but this is going to get worse and worse and worse. I think civil war on the streets.
Really? Because Elon Musk has predicted that.
Well, I didn't know that, but I predicted it as soon as Labour got in. We become a lawless society, and you know, it's the dog wagging the tail wagging the dog now. And I'm not sure that how much we can do other than make it very clear. And what this chap Liam Galvin has done, I mean, he should be given a medal for standing up. He's lost his life through stupid government's decisions to put someone in jail that's done nothing wrong.
I know, it's absolutely appalling. Absolutely appalling. And then, Charlie, I mean, you were in London, so you knew how lawless London was, right? And you have Chris Kaba, who is literally one of the biggest gangland thugs in London, right? So he is shooting people up in a nightclub in Hackney. Very lucky that there weren't deaths. Shooting people on the street, or at least attempting to shoot people on the street. He is then shot dead by a police officer during a checkpoint when he refused to stop. He was asked multiple times to stop. In fact, if you look at the footage, he was actually just charging through this police line. And Sadiq Khan tries to make it an issue of racism. And the police officer ends up on trial for murder.
Yeah, well, again, you've said everything. The judge, jury found the police officer not guilty, and I believe that should be the case. Sadiq Khan is a racist. He's a troublemaker. He's a waste of time. He's very much against all people that live in London and work in London. Again, he's another man that just despises people that want to sort of do well in London and create business. I mean, I've had run-ins with him and evidently been told off about it. Really could not care less about the man. He should not be mayor of London, and he's a troublemaker and causing problem after problem. He's not mentioned nothing about, the Liam Gallagher that's died in prison, but he mentioned something about somebody in London that he feels he's a troublemaker, the guy. I mean, he needs to be got out of office immediately. And, you know, I've got a good word to say against the guy. Since he's been mayor of London, he has ruined so many businesses in London and killed the economy with his stupidity of what should be and what shouldn't be. He's absolutely clueless. I mean, he's the biggest troublemaker in England.
Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Now, Charlie, I have to talk about your decision to leave the UK because you know it got the entire mainstream media talking. So on the one hand, you have the Daily Mail who were reporting very faithfully your decision to leave. Even though you'd paid £120 million in tax, you refused to give another penny to this government. Then you had The Guardian, surprise, surprise, the left-wing Guardian and that awful Marina Hyde celebrating the fact that you were leaving. So this created such a big storm that Number 10 Downing Street was actually asked about your decision and asked if your actions were patriotic. And they put the boot in. They said the Prime Minister believes the UK is the best place to do business and invest in, and the focus of the government is in ensuring we are supporting businesses and providing them with the stability and longevity to do business here. The Prime Minister has been clear that growing the economy is the essential and first mission of the government, but at the same time, it is also right to have the first fix the foundations of the economy, and that is why we are being straight with the public and restoring public finances. Charlie, here's your response. What do you have to say to Number 10 Downing Street?
Well, I've already said it. They're very anti-business. They're driving not just millionaires out of the country, billionaires, working people, people that create jobs, entrepreneurs. They're driving them out. Starmer denies it, but he cannot be that stupid not to know it's happening. The figures are out there, and there's going to be thousands more leave. I'm getting messages all the time on emails about, you've done the right thing, we wish we could do it. The country would be half empty if the people that want to leave the country could leave. Unfortunately, they've got commitments. So I have to say, I'm going to be blunt, he's a liar. It's simple as that. He's a liar. He's caused this problem of driving people out. And to say the UK is a good place to invest in, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like kids in a playground talking about things they don't know. I mean, the economy is going to crash. We're going to go completely down. And I'm not telling you, Dan, or anybody of your listeners, anything they don't already know. And people keep saying to me, well, the budget ain't out yet. And, he's not done anything yet. It's not dropping these hints. It will be the worst budget we've ever had. And he's not just going to hammer the rich now. Anybody that pays tax is going to be classed as rich. He's going to hammer everybody. Look what he's done to the pensioners. He's going to put inheritance tax up, so people that have invested in a home and pass it on to their children are going to be hammered. He's going to put basic tax rate up. He's going to do a leaving tax. I mean, how stupid, a leaving tax. People have already paid the tax before on their money. And he's trying to say, we'll do you a leaving tax. That won't stop people going, but what it will do is stop them coming back. It's a bit like being in a restaurant, you've paid your bill, and all of a sudden you're leaving before it closes, and they say you've got to pay again. Would you go back in that restaurant? No. And where is he coming from? He's going the wrong way about it. He should be giving incentives to people that contribute to the economy. I mean, look at him there. I mean, what's a...
I know what you're thinking.
No, I wouldn't be rude, but the man's a complete clown. And how can you have him, that Reeves woman, and the other woman? They're running a country. None of them have been in business.
Well, no, not one of the people on that screen, Charlie, who are all in the most powerful positions, now running the country. Not one of them has any business experience.
That's right. Exactly it. And I made this statement before, and of course they can't answer it. I mean, and what's the point of Starmer, arguing and protesting with me? It's one person who's left the country. And sorry, the 120 mil is about 100 mil I've paid over the years of the money that's gone through my hands, besides all the millions of others from their employees. And he's arguing with someone like me. He needs to be I mean, he couldn't get me back there for nothing. I'll be honest with you.
Really?
I'm not avoiding any tax by moving here. I paid all my taxes up to date. I don't have a business there. We've started a new family business in London, We Fix London, and it's a family business, and they will comply with all the tax regulations that the government put in place. But if they become, as they go in, like ridiculous and hammering everybody, then they will just shut the business down and go to Dubai. He's driving people away from the UK, and somebody needs to make him accountable of what's going on, because he's just denying everything. And, we all know what's going on, and we all know what's going to happen. I'm sorry I'm being a bit like Moni, but I'm just sick and tired.
No, you're telling it as it is. And the thing is, Charlie, you speak to a lot of other big people in business, and I believe there are lots of other multimillionaires who are considering doing the same thing. They're just considering doing it maybe a little bit more quietly than you.
Well, some people keep it quiet, and, I'm known for being outspoken, controversial, rude, call it what you want, but I'm just being honest.
For this show. Well, indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I mean, I know billionaires that have left. You've got, what's his name? I'm trying to think. He's gone to Monaco.
Oh, Alfie Best.
Who? Alfie Best. Alfie Best has gone. I know other people that have gone. I even know people that are, just go to work, and if they're getting about 50k a year, and they can afford to leave Spain, they're doing it. So it's anybody that hasn't got the commitments and can afford to leave. And I've told all my family that, that's their decision, but I've suggested that they leave the UK as soon as they can, because they're just going to hammer people, normal working people. You see on budget day, you see people will be screaming now that have supported government, because now he's going to take him money off you. He's not just robbing the rich, he's robbing anybody that goes to work and contributes.
How much of the problems with the economy, Charlie, do you put down to mass immigration, both legal and also the illegal invasion of the channel?
90% of it. Wow. I mean, he's on about he can raise, I think, 500 billion by bringing in this leaving tax and all that nonsense. I could show him how to raise that money within a year. It's fairly obvious what he needs to do. Stop paying and stop allowing people in the country that are illegal. And they keep saying about the hotel bill per day is 8 million. It's been 8 million for 6 months. It's probably nearer 20 million. And, if he was to put a stop on it, then it's really simple. They would not come here. First of all, they would not come. If you're not giving them money, they don't come. And the second thing is, he needs to send back all the illegal people that are in the country. It's simple as that. I actually think then that we could actually get back on top of where we were. All our money is being wasted to people that do not contribute. And look, I'm not racist. They could be Eskimos in the boat, or the dinghy, whatever they call it. They still need to be sent back. And it ain't difficult. Pick them up, put them on a ship out in the sea, wait a couple of days when you've got a couple of thousand, take them back. End of story. It's not difficult. We have a Navy. The Navy needs to be in the sea, and they could stop them in days. It would stop. And
Australia did.
Same with. Go on. Sorry.
Well, as Australia did. That's exactly what Australia did. They stopped the boats overnight because they turned everyone back.
As simple as that. I'll get all the busybodies coming on to me now. You're racist, you're this, you're that. You should help these people. They're running away from war. Running away from war? I mean, okay, if they're running away from war, they're cowards. I mean, and we got people that have fought in the war, and are heroes and been given medals, and they're homeless on the street. And he's letting in people that run away from war. I mean, they're not running away from war. We all know that. I mean,
they're economic migrants, let's be honest. They are young men, and they are largely, Charlie, involved in criminal activity.
Dan, honestly, you're not telling me or millions of other people anything that we already know. It's just being hidden up in the media. It's being hidden up by the government. And, I have to say, this Gavin chap, he's spoken out, and look what's happened because he talked and he said what millions of us are thinking. And, you know, look, I'm speaking for myself, but I get lots of people coming on to me and saying, you are just being honest. And, you know, it's so wrong. The pensioners, the people have paid in all their life, and he's robbing us. He's robbing people. I mean, he's a criminal, Starmer. He's a criminal. And if someone, a normal person, had put pressure on this guy in prison, they'd be charged with manslaughter. And that's what he needs to be charged with. And he needs to be removed from government immediately.
If only. If only. The problem is, though, Charlie, he's protected, isn't he? He's part of the establishment. That is one of the big issues. But look, I want to talk to you about what you think the political solution is. Because for someone who didn't support Brexit, Charlie, you made a very big decision before the last election to throw your weight behind Mr. Nigel Farage. Now, I said before the last election that I think Nigel Farage can be Prime Minister by 2029. I know some people laugh at me and say that's absolutely stupid, but the thing is, Charlie, you talk about the civil war that is bubbling underground. There has to be a revolution, really, I think, in our politics. So talk to me about why you decided to support Farage despite disagreeing with him so strongly on Brexit, and whether you think it's possible that he could end up in number 10 Downing Street.
Okay, I supported him because obviously Conservatives had been in long enough and they messed up. They didn't do nothing about the problem. They just encouraged it, a bit like what Labour's doing. So their finished job, obviously Labour, I wouldn't put them in charge of a broom, any of them. Nigel Farage, the only thing I disagree with Nigel on is the Brexit. I don't believe that we're any better off by being out of the EU, but we have to go along with it, unfortunately. But that's the only thing I disagree about what with him. But everything else, I totally support him 100%. And can he be Prime Minister? Yes. I actually think it'd be before 29, because I think there'll be an election called. I think Labour will be begging to get out of Downing Street. They will cause so many problems. And, you know, Nigel Farage, very outspoken man, very clever man, says what he thinks. I don't believe he's racist. I think he knows that if we don't do something about the mess of the country, it's going to get worse. If anybody can sort it out, I think it's Nigel Farage and his team around him. He's got some good business people behind him.
Richard, you know. Yeah, and he's colourblind. The thing is, he's a colourblind guy. He's like me. I don't give a damn what colour someone is. I just don't want to talk constantly about race and sex and sexual identity and gender politics. It's boring. I just treat everyone based on who they are, not what they are. And I think that's very much what Nigel is all about.
That's very, as I say, I feel if there's one person that can turn the country around, it's Nigel Farage. I honestly believe that. And yes, I fully support him. And I think if they started their campaign before, or if Nigel would have joined up or become the leader earlier, I believe that he would be in number 10 Downing Street now. The guy that's in it, Starmer, is just a caretaker Prime Minister. He's just in there until reform get in there. And I'm as confident as anything, because who else can we vote for?
No. Look, I'm with you. And you know what, Charlie? It's really interesting. I spoke to a very, very wealthy Conservative Party donor the other day. Very, very wealthy guy. Knows politics a lot. He said to me, it's very similar to what you said about what you think is going to happen to Starmer. He said, Keir Starmer will be the first British Prime Minister airlifted from number 10 Downing Street for his own safety. Just repeating what he said.
Yeah, look, I've met quite a few people that are supporting reform, and there is some good business people there, and there's some very normal working class people, and we're all on the same page. Something needs to change in the UK.
Nick Candy is supporting Reform UK now, and he was previously a Conservative Party donor.
Well, I've had quite a chat with Nick, and again, another switched on guy, creates jobs, puts investment over here. You know, he's another great person. I mean, he was with Conservatives, wasn't he, once?
Yes, he was. He was, up until very recently, actually. He supported Boris, he supported Liz Truss. It was only just before the election. Charlie, would you ever consider running for Reform UK?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Amazing.
If I'll only come back now when it looks like Reform will get in. I've got no intention of moving back there. I've got no intention of my investment there or any property there. I'm selling anything I've got there now. And but yes, I go backwards and forwards to the UK. I have family there. My family have a business there, and obviously I've got some input in that. But to actually move back there, I will not ever come back there until we have a different government, and it needs to be reformed.
Very, very exciting times. Charlie Mullins, so brilliant to speak to you. Keep being outspoken, because we need more people like you fighting for the UK. And who knows, maybe we'll be talking to you soon as a Reform UK parliamentary candidate. Charlie Mullins, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Cheers.
Now, stand by. Angela Levin is on the way in just 1 minute, and we have a shocking Tina Brown verdict of Meghan Markle. You are not going to want to miss what she has to say. But first, every day subtle changes occur in our bodies, often going unnoticed. It's called inflammaging, a chronic low-grade inflammation that deteriorates our health as we get older. It's more than just a sign of aging. It's a key contributor to health issues like cardiovascular diseases, dementia and depression, and physical decline. It continuously weakens the body's resilience, turning minor infections severe and impacting mental health and cognitive function. Inflammaging significantly diminishes both quality of life and independence. Proper diet, exercise and sleep can only get you so far. But the good news is, I've got a solution. It's why I take Clean Bean by Verso. Now, Clean Bean is amazing. It contains ingredients targeted to fight off and help prevent inflammaging. Research shows that these ingredients clean out damaged cells in the body that affect healthy cells, reduce inflammation, protect against oxidative stress, and improve conditions like cardiovascular diseases and neurological disorders. After taking Clean Bean for many months, I've noticed less joint pain, increased energy, better mood, clearer skin. I can think better. I don't get sick as often. These are all benefits of reducing inflammation. Plus, Verso ensures transparency and quality by publishing third-party testing results for each batch they produce, so you know you're getting what you paid for. Click the link in the description in YouTube or Rumble, or head on over to buy.ver.so. Use the coupon code OUTSPOKEN when you check out. You will save 15% on your first order. So I'm just going to repeat the address: www.buy.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code OUTSPOKEN. But now, back to the show, and it's time for our Royal Mastermind. And breaking right now, the media veteran, one of the most respected people in Hollywood and New York, Madison Avenue, Tina Brown, has launched one of the most devastating attacks on Meghan Markle yet. This comes, of course, after Hollywood Reporter turned, after the Daily Beast turned, after Newsweek turned. And this criticism from Tina Brown, who, remember, was close friends with Princess Diana and is a chronicler of the British royal family, is going to hurt bad in Montecito. Listen to what she had to say.
Does Harry remain in the US? And will he be married to Meghan in 10 years?
I think he's pretty much in the thrall of Meghan.
Yes.
The trouble with Meghan is that she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world. I mean, she's flawless about getting it all wrong. You know, I mean, she just is
a perfectionist
really
about it.
She's a perfectionist about getting it all wrong. It's like every time I think, finally, you know, when she got WME involved, her issue is that she doesn't listen to all these, but the reason they all leave is because she does not listen. She hires all these people, asks them their opinion, and then doesn't follow it. She does what she wants to do. And all of her ideas are total crap, you know, unfortunately. And he, because he's so naive and sort of really unschooled in the ways of the world, I mean, you know, honestly, being Prince Harry means, I mean, I doubt if he ever booked a table in a restaurant. You know, he's totally... the army was great for him, and he was extremely good and competent in there. That really helped turn him into a real person. But he really, you know, he's a lamb to the slaughter. He's the lamb to the slaughter in this situation. I mean, he was terribly impressed by Meghan. He thought that she knew all. She persuaded him that she was the savvy Hollywood wheeler dealer, you know, who could come in and make them stars and all the rest of it. And he just sort of blindly followed her like a child, really. And unfortunately, she made every mistake in the book. And she's kind of run out of road, actually. I mean, I don't know where Meghan goes.
Wow. Wow. I mean, Tina Brown, Angela Levin, great to have you, by the way, is one of the most respected people across the Atlantic and actually in the UK, because of course she is British, both in terms of the media business. She's been around for decades, as I said, very close to Princess Diana. And this was damning. She calls every Meghan Markle idea total crap, claims she's run out of road. What did you make of her analysis?
Well, if I would be really honest, I would say that that's what I would have said myself. But I pull back a bit because I just am more careful. But I think she's got the courage. She couldn't care less because she's been very powerful in America and around the world. So it hasn't meant so much to her to say what she really thinks. But what I have done is actually go down all the things that she said, and you can come up with several examples of what she's saying. It's not just throwing mud at her, it's actually picking on the details of what she's done. And they are all truth. That's why she's not in a star in a film, why she hasn't got her kitchen sorted out to do all those nice jams and so on, that people don't want to see her. They've cut her out of their lives. And her staff, which is extraordinary, 17 top level staff, and another 10 to 14, so I'm told, lower level. They all don't want to work with her. So, you can actually find the detail of what she's saying, and there's nothing wrong there. Absolutely.
No, I don't
wrong.
think she's exaggerated. And also, Tina Brown wasn't one of these people that had it in for Meghan in any way. And what's so interesting is it's very indicative of the way that all of Hollywood, all of the American establishment is now turning on her. But what was fascinating is that Tina Brown was then asked about Prince Harry's future and how that plays into the relationship with Meghan Markle. Have a listen to this. We'll just get that in 1 second, Angela. But the thing is, it's so telling, isn't it, how Hollywood has made this very clear decision. It almost is like they walk en masse and they have turned away from Meghan.
Well, it's very interesting because initially she had enormous welcomes and enormous help and everybody liked her. But when you realize what is just below the skin, you need to be very careful because she's ruthless. And also what she's done to Harry and how she's upset the royal family. I think people have got more and more shocked. I think they believed it at one point, thanks to Oprah, that she was talking accurately, but you soon find out that it's not true. And I think over the years that have come, people just don't want to be associated with her, because if you've got a choice of being associated, being friends with Meghan and Harry, or with the main royal family, William and Catherine, anybody would go for them. I mean, she's just not winning that battle. Now, if you know even halfway that you've not won a battle and you can see the future and it's not going to change yourself, forget about the royal family, get on with your own life, do what you want to with your children and your vast area of grass and sand and all the rest of it. But don't keep on. And she's somebody who won't give up. You have to give her credit in that, but not in this way, that she's determined to win. She's determined to destroy the royal family. She's determined to destroy Catherine's position so that she can do it, because she did say once that it's not right that I have to walk behind her because I am a self-made woman and I've done it all myself. I know what to do, and she doesn't. I mean, to let that out is insane.
But Catherine
because
had the
everyone
last
loves
laugh, didn't
Catherine.
she?
She knows people love Catherine, and nobody would be really shocked that that is vile. And this whole thing of bringing out something of her own when one of the other royals are bringing out something of their own. And she comes up with the most ridiculous thing. She was with the jam because nothing was ready. She didn't have the OKs. But when William was doing something and Catherine was there, we hadn't seen much of her because of the cancer issue. And she'll sort of suddenly send out 50 jars of jam, but nobody else can get them. There's nothing else going on. There won't be till next spring. And you think, why did you do that? You know, if you start something, you need everything to be ready and then you can go forward. But she doesn't, because she wants everything done very quickly, which is why with Prince Harry, she refused to wait. The late Queen was very happy to let them go. She's not somebody who insisted they stayed. She felt they should go away, be happy, and do what they want to do. But it needed to be organized because the royal family isn't quick at these things. It takes a long time. And they didn't want to do that. I don't know what she was threatening Harry with, but it could have been all sorts of things that including that she couldn't cope anymore and she would kill herself. And it could have been done nicely, and there could have been a letter from a statement from both of them signed by her or Harry, and also by the Queen or anybody else who needed to sign it. And then it would say, okay, go with my blessing. But she didn't want that. She had to be out. And she didn't tell them that neither of them told the royal family what was happening. They put it up on Instagram. Now, I can't think of anything ruder to do that. Remember, it was a very cold, rainy day, and I was rushed off to stand outside Buckingham Palace to sort of say, what on earth has she done? And so I can't forget that. But it is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And she never listened. Harry told me that he'd spent a lot of time teaching her how to be within the royal family, the silly things and the more important things that she had to do. Camilla tried to teach her that as well. She wasn't interested in Camilla doing anything. She said Harry will, very superiorly. And but I don't think he did very much because he was so scared of saying too much in case she said, oh, I'm not doing that, I'm off. I mean, he was obsessed with her, very much so. And so if she didn't know, if you'd come from a different country, well, you have come a different country here to the UK, you go into a company or it's something like, you're not going to go into a royal family, but you go somewhere which you've never been before, you take your time to understand how it works. And then gradually you let them, you want to help them, and then you can make a suggestion. But she expected the Queen to listen to all her modernization instantly. Now, you can't talk to our Queen, our late Queen, like that. And she didn't give anybody any chance. And she couldn't bear it. And of course, I'll talk about Australia later, but, that's all together that she wouldn't listen.
Yes. Well, I do want to come actually very soon to Charles's tour. But before that, I've got that video now of Tina Brown talking about what's next for Prince Harry and Meghan. The answer is fascinating. So, Angela, have a listen to this and then you can give your verdict after.
I think that Harry could still, as I say, make a comeback. He'll always be Prince Harry. He'll always be the grandson of the Queen and the son of Diana. You can't take that from him, whatever happens.
And the Brits, would they bring him open arms for Harry? They would welcome him?
I think if he came back alone, they would, but not if he came with Meghan. I don't think that Meghan ever will, because I think Meghan really, really hated England for reasons I understand. I mean, she didn't get the culture. She just didn't get it. And feels so rejected by England, but England feels very rejected by Meghan. So it's a kind of impasse there. Unfortunately, I think that the hostility between Harry and William is such that I don't think that William will ever want Harry back. It's a bit like, George VI.
Do you agree, Angela Levin, that there's no way back for Prince Harry if he keeps Meghan? And actually, if it's William on the throne, he ain't coming back anyway, according to Tina Brown.
I think William has really had enough of his brother, not just about the cruel things that he's saying about the king and Camilla and all that, but what he said, the cruelness he said about Princess Catherine, and you can't blame him. And I always feel that if you have a partner who you really care about, if someone criticizes you, you can take it, if you're, and in any way you can find a way how to cope with it. But if it's against your partner who you love and they've worked very hard for you, and Catherine said she had to change her own life and learn how to be a princess and all the controls that she'd have to deal with. And I thought he wouldn't stand for that because it was all lies. He'd said once, Harry had said that she was the sister he'd always longed for. And along comes Meghan, and suddenly he doesn't like her. And I think his comment about William, that he wanted to stay within what the royal family wanted. So he chose her because she was the right sort of person. But he married Harry. He married for love. Now, can you imagine anything nastier? Really terrible. And although he's trying to see her now, she's recovering for cancer, but he wanted to see her before. No fear. And he's also ludicrous about their children. He says he wants to bring up the two younger ones because they will be spare, and he knows all about it and he wants to help them. And if you think that William, who thinks he's been appalling, will let him look after Charlotte and Louis, he must be crazy. Of course not. So I think as well, this mocking behavior of going abroad and pretending you're royal, where you can't do anything really, you can just go and wear your clothes and be admired. I think that would irritate William even more. I think with King Charles, if you're a parent, you can hate what your child is doing, but you still love them because you're the parent. And I think King Charles would love him, but I don't think he'll let him come back and have a role. And I think that's quite right too. You can't be that nasty. You cannot be that nasty. And he can't pretend he didn't do it because it's in his book, Spare. You can't be that nasty and then expect everyone to forget it. They never will forget it.
Totally. Now, Angela, King Charles, Queen Camilla in Australia. I have been really shocked by the way a lot of the mainstream media have decided to cover this tour, because look at these great headlines coming out of Australia today. His Royal Fryness, Charles and Camilla give chefs a hand by flipping sausages at sizzling barbecue event in Sydney. And if you look at the pictures of these two, they are completely glowing. It's actually been, I think, a really, really positive tour. And I want to talk much more with you about that later. But first, I think it is important to cover what has, of course, been the predictable negativity, especially from the mainstream media, which is very woke these days, and especially from the Republicans around the world after this Lydia Thorpe protest against King Charles. Now, Lydia Thorpe, I'm going to prove to you, is an absolute fruitcake. This woman is loopy. And no one should take her seriously, but I'll prove it, Angela. I promise you I'll prove it. But first, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, this is what happened when Lydia Thorpe, the Victorian senator in Australia, decided to go rogue.
Genocide against our people! Give us our land back! Give us what you stole from us! Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people! You destroyed our land! Give us a treaty! We want a treaty in this country! You are a genocider! This is not your land! This is not your land! You are not my kids! You are not our kids!
Lydia Thorpe is nothing but an attention-seeking loser. This is what happened when she was sworn into the Senate, Angela.
I, Sovereign Lydia Thorpe, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and I bear true allegiance to the colonising Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Senator Thorpe. I'm going to wait for quiet. Senator Thorpe, you are required to recite the oath as printed on the card, so please recite the oath.
I, Lydia Thorpe, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law.
Remember that? And then she also interrupted, you know, Kelly J. Keane, who is a regular on Outspoken, and she's the women's rights advocate from the UK. Look at what Lydia Thorpe also did when Kelly J. Keane was in town.
In the United Kingdom is the polar opposite. They know what biological sex is, and they celebrate women like myself.
Everybody just stand up.
Let's go.
This country should be ashamed that they even let people like this in this country. Now, I went to tell her that thing, that they are not welcome here. And I got pulverised by the police by simply telling that person that they are not allowed to be here.
So Angela Levin, Lydia Thorpe is a complete fruitcake. She even posted or reposted on Instagram an image showing King Charles beheaded. So the thing that annoys me about this is lots of parts of the British mainstream media deciding to take these actions seriously. She should just be dismissed as a fruitcake, shouldn't she? Because actually, Aussies have been loving Charles.
Yes. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But can I say, to make it even worse, that
Please.
she tried the day before to make a big fuss too, where they were putting the wreaths for all the people who had died during the battles, right?
Yes.
She was making a big fuss, but the police got hold of her and they were pulling and pulling. They were pulling at a red jumper she had. So she took the jumper off and stormed off. So she obviously thought, well, I'm not having this, because nobody got any notice of it. So she came back the next day to be vile and absolutely ridiculous. I mean, some people who are just want a tremendous amount of attention and they don't care about anybody. They don't think that he's come a long way, that he's over 70, that he's, it's nothing. They don't care about anybody else. And the interesting thing about her father, whose name is Roy Illingworth, was very upset that she doesn't acknowledge any of her white side, that she's got a white side, her parents are, and an English background as well as Irish. And he's very, very disappointed in her. Well, I'm not sure. I felt embarrassed for him, actually. And there you have, there's a father who obviously loves his daughter, but thinks she is a strange woman. And actually, that's not the way to behave. But I think in a strange way, it made a lot of people feel even more willing to accept the king and be very grateful for him coming, and to care for him even more, because anybody who is sane actually thinks that that's the most terrible thing to do. But I do know that the king and the queen take these things quite lightly. Thank goodness, because otherwise it would drive them mad. And they just, well, Camilla was laughing at one point, and I think King Charles, who's been attacked so many times of so many different silly reasons. And you just learn that you don't listen, you don't really take it to heart, because if you did, you couldn't manage your job, could you? You couldn't.
No, very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
Well, look, stand by, Angela Levin, because we actually have much more to discuss about the Australian tour. I actually think it's a bit like 1983, so I'll explain what I mean by that. Plus, what does Angela know about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle buying a house in Portugal? This is really fascinating. So we've got lots more from Angela in just 1 minute on the after show. You can register to watch right now at www.outspoken.live, our membership section, where you get half an hour of extra content every single day. So thank you so much for your company today. We're back live tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Please hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. Most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you. See you on the after show in just 1 minute.